Hey, I'm Randy and you're watching The Cheap Audio Man. Here at The Cheap Audio Man, we talk about high-value, hi-fi home theater and headphone equipment. And today, it's one of the most requested videos I've gotten in the last couple of months. It is a review of the new Geshelli Labs J2 AKM version. And it's a comparison to the Sabre version, the Q2M. So sit down, grab a cup of coffee, and let's talk about this new Geshelli Labs DAC. Today's sponsor is Sith Audio Anti-Diarrhea, Anti-Gas. They call it the decompression chamber. We've all been there. We know what it's like to have too many burritos, a chimichanga, and a bunch of spicy salsa. A little bit of rumble south of the border in the southern hemisphere. That's why when you binge eat green curry or cheese enchiladas with atomic spice levels, you're going to need to get some Sith Audio, the decompression chamber. It calms your cantankerous stomach the right way, the audiophile way, the Sith Audio way. First time, every time. Sith Audio, audiophile, anti-diarrhea, anti-gas, the decompression chamber. Geshelli Labs. They are a company based out of Florida. Family company. You got Gino, you got Sherry, you got Jake, you got Rachel, you got Gino's dad. Whole bunch of people over there, all related, all making stuff together in harmony. Today, the subject of this video / review is this lovely piece of electronics. It's the J2 DAC. It's a little bit special, a little bit different from this Geshelli Labs J2 DAC. How's it different? Well, thank you for asking. This new one has the AKM 4493 DAC chip in it. AKM has not been around for a while because they had an unfortunate fire that wiped out the entire factory. A lot of DACs used AKM chips, including Geshelli Labs, including Schkit Audio. So I have a total of 3 Geshelli Labs DACs. 2 of them are ESS or Sabre chipsets. One's the 9038 Q2M, yep. And then the other one is the 9026 Pro. 9026 Pro is the oldest version. The 9038 Q2M is this one. And then this one is the 4493 from AKM. So before we get into it, I just want to say a big thank you to Geshelli Labs. I've gotten to know them over the last year or so, and they are fantastic people. This is a one-off case that Gino's father made me, and it is made out of reclaimed pallet wood and then some distressed hardware. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I was talking to them and they asked me what wood I wanted the AKM version in, and I was like, I don't know, surprise me, whatever. And they're like, well, we're doing some pallet stuff. I'm like, yeah, do the pallet, make it mismatched like me. And then I said, can you burn the Geshelli Labs logo in the top? And they said, yeah, we can probably figure something out. Work of art. And I cannot express enough gratitude to the folks over at Geshelli Labs. You better believe that this one isn't leaving the house. If I have to pay him in burritos to keep this, I'll pay him in burritos to keep this. That's another thing. Every time you order a new DAC at Geshelli Labs, it comes with a free burrito. Hand-wrapped right down there in Florida. And they'll include it in the box. I don't know how they do it, but I think it's some type of vacuum sealing. Not vacuums on the ceiling, but vacuum sealing of a bag. They're right next to NASA. So I think what they do, they have burrito technology from NASA. On the front, over here, oh my goodness, I'm getting good at this. All right, over here you have a power button. Boop, 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 boop. Over here you have an input button. This also is used for the output level. So you'll short press to change the inputs, long press to change the output levels. And then right over here, there is a optical input and a coaxial input on the front. I posted something to Instagram last night and they're like, it's only on the front? No. It's not just on the front. They're also on the back. There is another optical input right there and another coaxial input right there. And then a USB. Now, the USB is an optional add-on. You don't have to get the USB if you don't want to. And if you don't get the USB, it is cheaper. How much is it? Well, I'm glad you asked. With no USB in an aluminum case, try to say in an aluminum quickly. It's not as easy as you think it is. In an aluminum case, $250 without the USB. With a wood case, it starts to go up depending upon what type of wood you choose. Beechwood, red oak, white oak. It looks like the most affordable woods available are $50. If you get the J2 without a USB in a wood case using beechwood, it would be $300. That's not a bad deal considering that it's not a black box like everything else. Even if you get it in aluminum, you get to choose the colors. Where's my other one? You could go with something like this. White and atomic green on the front. I love this. I love this. This is the first one they ever sent out to me. Yay! So if you're getting an aluminum one, you get to choose the exterior color, and then you get to choose the plexiglass color as well. Mix and match. There's a bunch of options. If you want a USB, you're adding $50 on top of that. So if you get the USB in an aluminum case, $299. You get the USB in a wooden case, depending upon the wood, about another $50. All the way up to another $100. 5 different colors of aluminum, 14 different colors of plexi. Let's go back to how it works. So these buttons on the front kind of pull double duty. Power not only, well, turns it on, but if you short press it after you turn it on, it does change the LED. There's an LED in here, and it has a few different colors. So you can keep pushing it until you get the color you want, or you can turn it off completely. The input selector right here, short press it, it changes the input. Now the inputs are indicated by these 4 LEDs on front, and you kind of just have to figure out which one is assigned to which one. If you long press the input button, it changes the output level. I think there's about 3 or 4 of them. On the back, again, we have the USB right over here. Whoops, the daisies. Right here. And then the coax optical. Here's your outputs. So single-ended RCA outputs. Next to that, you have truly balanced outputs. If you're using the balanced output, it doubles the voltage. Almost dropped it. Let's talk about how it sounds. Let me start off by saying I generally don't like DACs that use AKM chips. I don't know what it is. Maybe because all the DACs that I've listened to that have AKM chips are lower cost DACs from overseas. I don't like them. The one DAC I do like, kind of, is the Schkit Modi 3 Plus, whatever it is. I do like that DAC, but sometimes even the Schkit Modi can be a little bit harsh on top. So I've never been in love with an AKM DAC. That is, until this one. Now, it's getting a bit cliche for me to continue to give Geshelli Labs overwhelmingly positive reviews. However, the only thing I think you can argue about Geshelli Labs products is the aesthetics. They may not look like the type of equipment that you want, and that's purely subjective. And I get it. If you like a traditional black box, you're not getting it with Geshelli Labs. It's hard to argue with the stuff they put out as far as a performance standpoint. Personally, I like how it looks too. So let's talk about the AKM. Completely, almost exactly opposite of every other DAC that I've heard with an AKM chip. This DAC, if anything, is so brutally in control of the bottom end that it sucks you into the music. It is so engaging. The sonic differences between the AKM and the 9038 Q2M are sometimes subtle, sometimes not so subtle. The not so subtle part is in the bass. There's more of it. It's more clearly defined on the AKM. It's more visceral on the AKM. Conversely, on the top end, I think the 9038 Q2M Sabre version gives you a bit more detail. So the good news is these are different enough and different in different areas that it kind of depends on what you like. However, I don't think you can go wrong with either one. I'm just lucky that I have both. I listened to a bunch of Metallica last night. Go figure. No, but here's the reason why I listen to so much Metallica. Because I know that music very, very well. So when there's differences, when there's a little bit, when there's something extra going on, I can hear it because I've listened to it hundreds, if not 1,000 times. Don't tread on me. The bass line in there with Jason Newsted was heftier than on the 9038 Q2M Sabre version. Also more clearly defined. I could really hear him separated in space and then each pluck of the bass. And anecdotally, I was talking to one of my patrons who was describing a very similar thing when he was listening to the AKM version. He does not have the 9038 Q2M, so he wasn't able to A-B them back and forth. I feel like the mid-range on the AKM is a bit more forward, slightly more rich than the 9038 Q2M. 9038 Q2M, a little cleaner through the mid-range, but step back a little bit in the mid-range. Top end on the AKM is there, absolutely there, but it takes a while, it takes a few songs to start kind of hearing it. Whereas the Sabre version, you can just hear it. That's kind of like, the Sabre is a little bit more emphasized on the top end. A little bit leaner in the bass. So what are my final thoughts? This thing right here is as close to a masterpiece, I think, as any piece of electronics that I've ever heard has gotten to under $1,000. $2,000, $3,000. The AKM version of the J2 is probably the best DAC that I've ever heard. Period. Not under $2,000, not under $3,000, period. And it comes in at around $250 if you don't want a USB. I have never heard an AKM DAC that I've liked. I've never heard an AKM DAC that has this sound signature, that is so visceral on the bottom end, just yanks the music around like The Undertaker. Like if The Undertaker found you on a plane and you got in his way, he'd just move you. That's what the J2 AKM version is like. It is in complete control of the music. The music is dynamic. The music is engaging. The music is musical. And I hate that term describing music, but it is. If there was a better term, I'd use it. If you are into top-end detail and top-end detail alone, probably look at the Sabre version. But there's something special about this AKM. There's something special that kind of moves your soul. And when I talk about this being the best DAC under 2,000, 3,000, period, whatever, I think the 9038 Q2M fits in there too. However, a little bit of a different sound signature. The AKM version reminds me a lot of, I think it was the Topping D90 SE, which was an 800 or 900 DAC, except the Geshelli Labs has way better soundstage. Way better, and better imaging. So this is great, Randy, but there's still some things about this DAC that may not fit for everybody. One of which is no remote control. No remote input switching. No variable output. No oversamples, undersamples, blood samples, nothing like that. You get what you get. And I like that. Either it's on or it's off. You get to change some output levels and you get to change the inputs. That's it. No sound color modes, no filter roll-offs, no remote control, no variable output. It's a DAC, but it's the best DAC. So if you want a remote control, you're going to have to hook this up to something like a Schit Saga S, a Schit Freya, anything with a remote control. However, you're still going to have to get up and change the inputs if you want to. There are a few creature comforts that you may be missing with the J2. I would say get over it and get off your chair and go change the inputs. Especially if you have this sitting on your desktop, then that's not an issue at all. Power supply is 12-volt power supply, a simple wall wart. Some of my patrons have added a linear power supply, and they claim that it has improved the sound even more. Personally, I don't feel the need to improve the sound on something that sounds this good. I had this hooked up to the Emotiva PT2 preamp, going into Emotiva A1 monoblocks, going out to my favorite speakers of all time, the Sony SSCS5s. Music was remarkable. large, big, but more than anything, a completely engaging experience with the music. And a sound signature so different from any other DACs I've heard with an AKM in it that I would never... If you told me I was listening to a $10,000 turntable with a $5,000 phono preamp and the best pressing of Metallica Black ever, I would have believed you. It's that good. It's that good. It's that good. Think I'm hyping it? Buy it, listen to it, and return it if you don't like it. As it is right now, I don't think there's anybody competing with these two DACs sonically. From a Delta Sigma standpoint, you could argue maybe R2R DACs sound better, but from a chip DAC, no way. Let me repeat that so this sinks in. There are no other DACs out there that compete with the J2 sonically. Chip DACs. I don't care what the price is. Oh, let me walk that back. No DAC that I've heard competes with these. And I would argue that I've listened to more DACs than most people have. So, that's about it. If you want to support the channel, you can sign up for Patreon. We have Zoom's Discord server, Facebook group. You can use the links in the description. I actually think I do have affiliate links with Geshelli now. So I'll link those. Remember, free burrito on each order. Just kidding. You don't get a free burrito. You can sign up for Amazon Music or Tidal Music. You can also use the thanks button. Buy me a cup of coffee. Don't feel compelled to give anything, though. And you can like the video and subscribe. So don't binge watch anything on Netflix or Hulu. Binge it, listen to your new Geshelli Labs J2 AKM version and fill your soul with happiness. And with that, I'm Randy. I'm the Cheap Audio Man.